Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Stop the Silence. It's time to talk. My name is Terry Miner, and I am your host. And I like to take a moment of silence, followed by the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. We have a room full of people that knows that serenity prayer. Thank goodness. Today is March the 22nd, and we're going to be talking about the principle of self-support, right? In our addiction, we were dependent upon people, places, and things. We looked at them to support us and to supply the things that we found lacking in our lives. In the animal kingdom, there is a creature that thrives on others. It is called a leech. It attaches itself to people and takes what it needs. When one victim brushes the leech off, it simply moves on to the next. In our active addiction, we behave similarly. We drained our families, our friends, and our community. Consciously or unconsciously, we sought to get something from nothing, from virtually any and every one. When we saw the basket passed around at our first meeting, we may have thought, self-supporting, huh? Okay. Now, what kind of odd notion is this? As we watched, we noticed something. These self-supporting addicts were free. They were free. By paying their own way, they had earned the privilege of making their own decisions. By applying these principles of self-support in our personal lives, we gain for ourselves the same kind of freedom. No longer does anyone have the right to tell us where to live because we pay our own rent. We can eat, wear, or drive whatever we choose because we provided for ourselves. Unlike the leech, we don't have to depend on others for our substance. The more responsibility we assume, the more freedom we gain. Just for today, there are no limits to freedom. I can earn by supporting myself. I will accept personal responsibilities and pay my own way. You know, as we talk about that leech, I can admit that I was a leech. When I was out there using drugs, the getting and finding the means and ways to get more drugs had me becoming a leech. Because addiction had me so bad, I was willing to rob my brother, my sister, my grandmama. Depends on how high I was and how far gone I was. It didn't make a difference. But when I surrendered to a power that was greater than myself and I chose to call him Jesus, everything changed. My whole life shifted. Then I finally stepped out the Narcotics Anonymous room and got a little holy boldness going on for myself. When I'm saying holy boldness, I was bold enough to start sharing my story in public like I'm doing right now. For 7 years, I stayed in the AA room and the NA room, holding on to my story, only to release it to the NA members, never to society at large, because people can be cruel. The society can be so cruel. And they think that a drug addict is supposed to be normal. A drug addict is not normal. And so we do some uncommon things, anything to get whatever we need to make us feel better, to change our thoughts, But the joke was really on me when I surrendered and called on a power greater than myself, and that power was God, and it was there for me. He started putting people in my life that helped me, that didn't talk about me. See, when people help you and not talk about you and support you and build you, then you start growing. And that's what happened to me. And I found the Potter House, and my growing now is just growing. I'm just growing. Moving forward, I'm reading more. I'm praying more. I mean, actually, I'm on a prayer line every morning at 4:15. Who would thought? But being self-supporting is a gift. It's truly a gift. Not being told when to use the bathroom and when to eat. And I'm talking about prison now. When I was in jail, you know, it just downgraded me down, you know?
Right.
It's like, wow, I got all these fathers telling me, go to lunch. Okay, you can go use the bathroom. Leave the door open while you use the bathroom, where 20 other men can wash you, shower, wash you, do whatever you got to do in the bathroom. I do not want that life again. So thank God for Narcotics Anonymous and God putting it inside Bill's and his friend's head to create AA. Because Narcotics Anonymous was formulated and reborn off of AA. So AA, kudos to AA. Okay, that's enough of that. My guest, this is my guest today. This is Miss Kim.
Hey,
Miss Kim is a very incredible woman. She does a lot of
you.
things at one time. She's
you.
a multitasker. But I've been seeing her for the past 4 to 5 years because she actually worked at 1600 Sacramento Way, where the Black Chamber of Commerce and the radio station is at. Every time I come to the station, I'll see her, and she just be smiling and grinning. I want to know her. I want to know what her story is like. So here we are. So Kim, what's going on?
Hey, how are you? Thank you, first of all, for having me as your guest. You know, I really appreciate it. Whoa, where do I begin? I got a story.
From the beginning.
Now, what time is it? No.
Genesis. She said, where do I begin? Genesis.
Where do I begin? My journey has been long, but worth it. I mean, you know, like everybody, you always wonder, God, why does this happen to me? Like, what did I do to, you know, deserve to be in this situation? Like, why you do this to me? You know, and so I really had to come to my faith when I know they say God don't give you more than you can handle.
This is true.
And everything he does makes you stronger for the next one that he's about to get. So, my story. I am a young girl raised in South Bend, Indiana. I was born in West Helena, Arkansas. So yes, in the country. Y'all might hear that countryness come out. Don't.
I hear it right now. I hear it.
Don't mind it. I may say, you know, it sounds a little country sometimes. But yeah, so when I was young, we moved to South Bend, Indiana. So I was pretty much raised in South Bend, Indiana. Small town. Most people know it because of Notre Dame, the football place. So, wow. Being, like I've said, growing up, I'm the youngest of 4 kids. And I mean, the youngest, like when I was like 5 and 6, my brothers and sisters, they was like 10, 15. They were older. So it was just me kind of in the house by myself with my mom and stuff. And like I said, at a young age, I was molested at 5. So that kind of put me in a different place at 5 years old. And then when you say something and it's like, shh, don't say that, don't, you know, be quiet about that. Don't.
The stuffing process
began. Yeah, that's when it starts like, okay, I'm not gonna say nothing. If something bad is happening to me or happened to me, and the one person you think you are supposed to go to, you know, as a child, you feel unprotected when that person doesn't protect you. So, and so at 5, I kind of got in a little shell to myself, but I was still outgoing. But I hid it. I covered it up, never to talk about it again until my adulthood. So as I got older, I got pregnant at 15. I was a single mom at 15, pregnant. I had my daughter when I was 16. She was born the day after me. So on my 16th birthday, I was in the hospital having a baby. At 16. So then, actually, that was my first child. Then actually, I had my son a year and a half later. So I had 2 kids before I even graduated high school. And having kids back then, my daughter was born in 88, my son was born in 90. So back then, having, kids in high school, it's like, oh, you ain't gonna never about to be nothing. Oh, all you're gonna do is, be on welfare for the rest of your life. You'll never do anything with yourself. And I was like, I don't know. I don't want. And these were teachers. These were teachers telling me this. It wasn't just other little kids or whatever. These were my teachers telling me.
Plant something like that in a child's head that they're not gonna amount to nothing because they're having kids. Really?
Yeah, but. To their knowledge and their surprise, I graduated high school with 2 babies.
That's what's up.
And I graduated with a 3.8 grade point average. So I've been telling young mothers, you can do it. Just because you have a baby, you have to put that in your mind that you're gonna do what you gotta do for your baby and for yourself. I didn't let having kids stop me from, going to school. Well, really, my mama told me too, because she said you got 2 choices: either you go to school or get out.
So your mom helped you while you went to school. She kept the kids while you went to school.
No, she did not. She did not.
So how did you juggle that?
She told me you got to find your way.
So how did you find your way?
Ooh, at 16, I really didn't know how to find my way, but I did. So I had to find a babysitter. Mm-hmm. I had to take my baby to the babysitter, get on the bus, and go to school. My mom, she worked night shift, so by the time she got home, I was getting ready to go to school. Mm-hmm. But my mom just told me, that's your responsibility. That's your responsibility. You had that baby, that's your responsibility. Now, not that my mom didn't help. I don't want to put my mom in a bad light and be like, oh, my mom was, no, she helped. Mm-hmm. But
no, I get it.
My mom helped me to become the woman that I am, because if I was always dependent on my mom, mm-hmm. I wouldn't be the woman or the mother that I am, because I would be like, oh, my mom gonna do this. Oh, my mom gonna do this. So she taught me a lot of responsibilities when I had my first child. So like I said, growing up in South Bend, it snows in the wintertime. And I'm not talking about the little snow y'all get in Reno and all. I'm talking about up to your knees, thighs, walking in snow. So I'm dressed, I got my baby, and I'm walking on over to the daycare.
And that was natural?
Natural. Get on the bus, go to school, come home, go pick her up, come home, do whatever I gotta do with her, and do my homework. And then wake up the next day, Monday through Friday, and do it all again. And then when I had my second one, I had to do the same thing. So I learned a lot of responsibilities in that. And that struggle kind of, like I said, made me the woman that I am now. So at about, let me go back before that though, but about 10 or 11, so between 10 and 12, I don't really know how old I was, but I used to always tell myself, like, South Bend is not for me.
It's who?
It's not for me. Like, it's too small. If I'm not gonna do anything, I was already ambitious, because I already knew. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew it was gonna be big. Cause I was like, it's gonna be big. Yeah. And I kept telling myself, I kept telling God too. I was like, look, I'm moving to California. I don't know how I'm gonna get there when I'm.
Now you're telling God you moving to California. God, I'm moving to California.
I said, I don't know how I'm gonna get there, when I'm going. I said, but I'm gonna get there because I always wanted to be a talk show host. I always wanted to be on TV. I watched Oprah, Janet Jones, Geraldo, all of them. And I'm like, yes, I used to sit my little teddy bears up and no, they can't talk back. But they in my mind that was my audience at the time. Your audience. So I always knew that South Bend, Indiana was not for me, because my dreams and my goals was bigger than that. And I always said, if I stay here, I'm not gonna do nothing. I said, if I stay here, I'm not gonna do anything, cause it's nothing there that I wanted to do.
Really?
Yeah, nothing. It was nothing there that I saw myself staying there for the rest of my life. But like I said, even as I got older, I was like, I'm still moving to California. God, I don't know how I'm gonna get there, but I'm going. And I still said that up until I probably was 18, because I graduated high school. Now, for the longest, I didn't know who my real dad was. So when I was about 18, my mom had to have surgery. So my grandma came down from Arkansas. Why my grandma said this, but I think God just put it on her to say it. I don't know, because I was upstairs with my kids and we was playing and stuff, and my mom and my grandma was downstairs. And then the next thing I know, my mom is calling me, and she said, pick up the phone. I'm like, I ain't hear the phone ring, but okay. So I pick up the phone. Lo and behold, she introduced me. She was like, oh, this your dad.
Oh, he said, hello, baby.
Yeah, he was like, hey. I was like, hello? Like, what? Who is she? Was like, well, I want you to meet your dad. This is Henry. And I was like, okay. So, you know, we talked for a little bit. So I go over downstairs, and I'm like, what is up with this? Where did this come from? I've been asking you all these years who my dad was, and all she would tell me was, his name is Henry. He stayed in California.
Did you ever get past the name Henry? My daddy's name Henry?
Henry. But I'm like, okay, Henry, California. Henry is a common name. California is a big old place.
Okay, I see where you go.
How I'm gonna do this? And then it got to the point I was like, I'm gonna call Oprah. Oprah was finding people at that time, reuniting people. I was like, I'm gonna call Oprah. I never did though. But after we talked, I found out. I said, why did you do that? Like, I've been asking you all these years and stuff, and you never said it. And she said, well, your grandma made me. And I said, well, what you mean? She was like, she came in here and said, did you tell that girl who her daddy was yet? And she was like, no. She said, well, if you don't tell her, I'm gonna tell her. I said, so you done known all this time, and he had the same number for all these years. It ain't never changed.
Really? You pissed off.
I was like, what the heck? And then, so I'm like, okay. Then come to find out, guess where he lived?
Around the corner?
In California. He lived in California. So I'm like, oh, okay. So actually,
at that point, you lit up, Mom.
I did.
Because you want to go to California. You've been saying it.
Right. So actually came out here a couple times to visit, get to know him. And I think the second time I came out here, I said, I'm packing up all my stuff and I'm moving to California. I am 19, almost 20 years old. 2 babies. I sell all my stuff in my house. Get on the Greyhound bus. I won't do that again. With 2 babies and ride for 3 days to get to California. And ta-da! I'm in California. Ain't left since. Now.
So what year was that?
I moved to California in 1992. Okay. Yeah, my son had just turned 2 years old. My daughter was 4, my son was 2. So we was on the Greyhound bus, moving on to California. So, wow, life in California was different. You know, I was from a real slow town. So, you know, it was different. Coming here, fast paced, you know, people try to get over on you. I'm a country girl. They knowing that I ain't from California. So, and I stayed in Richmond, California.
Ooh. So that's where you landed at when you
I landed in Richmond, California. I sure did. So, but anyway, like I said, I was still determined to, you know, make my dream happen. I still didn't know how I was going to do it, what I was going to do. So I ended up having 2 more kids. And at first, I first had 3 kids. But what I did was I went to school for nursing. So I was going to school for nursing. I went to school for medical assistant first, and I got that degree. Then I started working I actually didn't work in the medical assistant field. I worked in the building. So then I went back to nursing school. At this time, I got 3 kids. So I'm like, because I got to take care of my 3 kids. So I was always determined to do something. I wasn't just going to stop and be on welfare and all that for the rest of my life. Because I was on there. I'm not trying to say I wasn't. I had the Section 8. I was on welfare. I did all of that. But it wasn't for me. Because I kept saying, I need more than that. Like, this check they give me once a month, this is not enough. So I started working. And like I said, I either worked or went to school. And sometimes I did both. So fast forward to, because that went on for about 20 years. So then I had 3 kids by that time. So, you know, and I'm still thriving, still trying to make it with 3 kids, no help from their dads. It's just me. And at that time, I got 3 kids, 3 different daddies, so I'm not ashamed of that either. But so I was still trying to find my way, but not knowing it was still something empty with me. Yeah, it was you know, I didn't quite know what it was because I just kept moving through the day. Then I ended up getting with a guy, and I was in a relationship with him for like 14 years. And at the time that I was with this guy, the things that he did or said that even sometimes was physical, I never thought about it as domestic violence. I didn't. I'm like, we just arguing and we going about our business, and you know what I'm saying? And then I was like, no, he ain't like that. Like, he only hit me like, we get together 14 times, he only hit me like 5 times in 14 years. So I was justifying that. I was justifying all of that. And it still didn't hit me that I'm still holding on to a lot of trauma and a lot of stuff that was going on in the inside of me. Because I then, after I broke up with him, like I said, we was together for 14 years, then 5 or so years later, I meet another guy, and now this one was like a real serious domestic violence situation. And it was to the point to where at least 3 to 4 times a week, I was getting choked unconscious. Like, I was held at knife point. I had all kind of stuff going on. And I'm like, Lord, what is going on here? I was like, this is that, what? I don't even know how I got here, first of all. But why am I here? I mean, it was to the point to where I literally just went to work, came home, and stayed in my room. In my house. I pay the bills at. He didn't pay nothing. So I paid the bills. But I would seclude myself. Because it's like, I don't want to talk to you, because if I say something, you get mad, you do this, it's going to end up in you hurting me. And I was just saying, God, I got to get out of this. I said, I don't know how, when, where, why, what. I said, but I got to go. Now, at this time, my 3 oldest kids, they were grown, so they were already out the house. So it was just me and my youngest one. And she probably was like maybe 6 at the time. So she is hearing all of this. And so I was like, I got to get out of here. Like, I got to do something. So what I did was I said, I started going back to school again, and I went online. So I was getting my degree in music business. So yes, I did go back to school. I was 42. I think I went back to school when I was 42 years old, because I graduated from Full Sail University with my master's degree in music business when I was 45. Yes, that's another story. But yeah, so I would just go in my room and I would, do my studies and everything. And I actually ended up being there in that situation for 1.5 years. Now, mind you, I had packed up all my stuff and I moved out of my own house. I moved out.
Because he wouldn't leave?
Yeah, he won't go nowhere, whatever. So I'm like, I'm finna put my 30-day notice in, and I'm about to, shake him like that. That didn't work. He started stalking me then. So it was at the point where me and my daughter was living in hotels, because I was trying, because I'm like, how do you keep finding me? Like, what is he doing? Is he following me? What is he doing? Like, he finds me everywhere I go. So I, like I said, and then one night he found me at this hotel me and my daughter was in. People downstairs didn't really know, so they let him up. We was at the extended stay right there in West Sacramento. And he came up and everything, and so I could see that he was like real mad and stuff, and I was just like, oh Lord, is he finna kill me in here? Is he really finna kill me in here? And then I got to the point I was like, God, look, I don't really care how I die, but I'm not about to die by his hands. I said, that's what I'm not gonna do. I said, I'm not gonna die by his hands. So the lady downstairs, she called and she told him something was happening with his car. So he goes downstairs, and I guess they run his name or whatever, and come to find out he had a warrant. Yeah.
You was happy?
Yeah, I was. He ain't supposed to be happy, but I was happy. I was like, what? 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 Oh my gosh. So.
In your mind, you're like, oh, thank you, Jesus.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they put him in the back of the car. Now I'm downstairs. They put him in the back of the car. And he just looked at me and he was like, don't leave me. He was like, just wait for me.
Okay.
And my wheels already turned in the back. I said, okay. I ain't going nowhere. Okay. So they take him off and I run back up to that room. And I called my daughter's boyfriend because I know he works late. And I told him, I said, I need you. This is where I'm at. When you get off work, I need you to come get me. And don't ask no questions, just come. And he did. He didn't ask no question. He just came. I was packing me and my daughter's stuff. Look, that's everything that I had. I packed it. He came and got me, and then I moved in with my daughter. And when he got out, I think they only held him for like 24 hours or something like that. Then when he got out, he came back because he thought I was there. Nope, fooled you. I wasn't there, and I ain't been back since.
Oh, really? You hadn't seen him since?
Nope. He tried calling, he tried doing this, and I was like, no, I'm cool. Okay, but I just got to tell you a funny story. This is how crazy he was. I got to tell you this story. So, this is why ladies really need to be careful and know the signs of an abusive relationship. My youngest daughter, her uncle had passed away. So, we was going to Richmond to his funeral because we stayed in SAC at the time. So we was going to Richmond to his funeral. And he was like, oh, well, since you're going that way, just drop me off in Oakland. And no, I'm not doing that. You just try to go with me to see what I'm doing, who I'm around, who I'm trying to talk to, because he knew her father was going to be there because it was his brother. I said, no, I'm not doing that. I said, nope, not going to do that. We get ready to go. I will put gas in the car. He said, well, just drop me off at my friend's house. I said, now that I can do. I'll take you to your little friend's house. So I'm going to the gas station to get gas. I come out, he gone. So I said, oh, he must have walked, because he was like, oh, they just live right over here. I said, oh, okay. So I'm thinking in my head, he must have walked. I don't care. I put my gas, I get on, and I start driving. Now I'm about in Dixon. Get my phone ring. He was like, oh, where you at? And I said, I'm driving to the Bay. He was like, well, how close are you? I said, why? What difference does that make? He gonna say, cause I can't breathe. I said, what you mean I can't breathe? What are you talking about? He said, I'm in the trunk. I said, no, you're not. I said, now I'm on the freeway. I'm doing about 80. I said, no, you're not. Stop playing with me. He said, no, I'm in the trunk.
He called you on the phone?
From the trunk. And I said, no, you are not. Why he pushed the little seat down and come crawling through? Oh, man, I must have got off the freeway and drove all the way back around.
Oh, so he got in the trunk to see where you was going because you weren't taking him no further from there. So he got out the car and got in the trunk.
Oh.
Yes, making me think he had walked to his friend's house. But all the time, he got in the trunk while I was in the gas station.
That ain't no dark.
Drugs or something?
Did he have mental health issues?
I didn't, man.
That was a stalker syndrome.
That's crazy.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That
I
comes
was
from
like-
straight stalking.
Yes. That's why I was like, huh? Oh,
Thanks to a girl.
yes.
So I just wanted to say, you know, I'm a survivor of abusive relationships as well. And for me, I was just curious because I know I was attracted to a certain type of people, the type of guy that I always was attracted to. And I know you haven't said much about, I know you said you had kids and you were with the guys, and you didn't mention about what type of men that you were with, or boys that you were with at that particular time. right? Because it's kind of a pattern,
Mhm.
right? And so we just kind of didn't speak about the first baby, mom, daddies, and all that stuff.
Right.
You kind of just went to another chapter.
What-
But
Look,
was
I went to the
curious
next
in my
chapter.
mind- I just was kind of curious in my mind, what type of guys were those? Because it becomes a vicious pattern.
It does.
And we
So
be attracting those same type of people.
it was crazy because, like I said, in high school, my first two kids' fathers, like I said, we was 14, so we was still in school. It wasn't like they wasn't into drugs. They wasn't, they wasn't into
weren't.
stuff like that. So they were just like normal little
boys. They
little
weren't grown
boys.
men, just
Yeah.
little boys.
For me, they really was just like normal high school.
Okay, because and also it rings a bell for what happened to you at 5 years old, right?
Yes.
Because sometimes we start acting out a
Acting
little
out.
bit early.
Yes.
And then we start looking for father figures and type of things.
Yes.
And these type of men, right?
And that's
So-
what happened. I found out. So like I said, my third daughter's father, I got, fooled by that one because he was into the church. So, I thought you think in the church,
A false prophet.
you're thinking, oh, okay, he okay by me. He in the church, family go to church, everybody go to church. So I'm thinking he different. No, he wasn't really. It was just like you said, that underneath, it just wasn't there. He was, yeah. And I don't want to speak bad about nobody, but yeah, he did a lot of things. Like nothing abusive or anything like that, but he just wasn't for me who he said he was. And then after we had our daughter, then it became even worse because then we broke up and now he didn't want to have nothing to do with her, and if he did, it was minimal. And then it was basically his parents that really helped me with her, but so he kind of was like on that middle fence. Now my last daughter's father, yeah, he was what would they call them, D-boys? He was
a D-boy.
He was a D-boy. He was in the streets, sold drugs, like didn't want work, like wanted women to take care of him, and he was one of those. So the last two, that's how they were. They were more of the, oh, I'm not gonna work, I want a woman to take care of me, and blah, 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 blah. So, but what happened was when I went to therapy, because I actually did go to therapy to see somebody because I had I was just getting depressed a lot. And so I had moved on from all these situations. I'm out of the domestic violence relationship. I'm on my own now, but I'm still depressed. Even though I was happy, I'm not dealing with that, I was still depressed. And so at that time at the job I worked at, I took a leave, and I said, I right now I just can't work. So they suggested I go to counseling and all of that. So I did. And boy, the things that come out in counseling or therapy that you do not realize. And when I say she went all the way back to my childhood and was telling me all of the things, well, she didn't really tell me, but she kind of just let me talk and get through some things, and just how she sat there and listened, and then, the things that she said to me, because I was depressed. I was going through issues where I thought that basically in order to have a man, keep a man, or do whatever, it was more of a sexual thing. I wasn't out there being promiscuous, but I thought, oh, he like me, this is what I gotta do to make him like me and to make him stay. So it was more about sex. And I don't even think it was really about a father figure, but it was more about finding somebody to love me, a man really to love me. So I went more toward the sexual than anything else. And I kept doing it until, like I said, I went to see my therapist, and she really underlined that for me. And she really let me know, this is what you're going through. This is why you're, acting out, and it's a lot of things that you never were able to release, and you started looking at life in a different way, and it was more of a sexual way when it came to men. And so I'm just gonna say this like this: therapy helps, and I think in our community we need to let our community know that there's nothing wrong with getting therapy. There's nothing wrong with counseling. There's nothing wrong with talking to somebody, because a lot of our issues are underlined from when we were younger, and we don't talk about it.
Exactly.
So, standing here today, or sitting here today, I advocate for mental health. I advocate for domestic violence. And I was like Terry. I was like, because once I got out the situation, and I heard God say, you need to tell your story. I said, no, I'm not doing that. Mm-mm. I said, I'm not telling my story about some man beating on me. I said, I said, I'm not doing that. I ain't trying to be disobedient, but I ain't doing that. I'm not doing that. And I was very adamant with myself. God won't listen to me. So, but what happened was, I was actually, like I said, I graduated college. I got my degree in music business. And I go to Showers of Blessings Church. And one of the sisters there, her name's Sister Kim. I love her to death. She was like, "It's this guy in the church you need to meet." I'm like, "Nah, I'm good." No, she was like, "No, he in the same, field that you do. You need to hook up with him." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, let me see." I done heard that line before from people talking about, "Oh, I'm in the music business." So I was like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." I ain't never seen this guy. I've been going to this church for 4 years. I ain't never seen this guy. And she was like, "Yeah." She was like, so at that time, he was putting on a concert. It was Festival of Praise. He was putting on this concert. So one Sunday, he was at the church. And so after church, she ran over there, and she introduced me to him. And we actually just really became friends. This guy, he really was there for me. He stuck by me or whatever. He saw my potential. And I actually ended up, working with him and for him. My dear friend Cedric Singleton, I ain't gonna not let the people know who you are, because he really did. And I appreciate him so much, because he still helps me to this day. Ooh, look at me. Y'all got no Kleenex or nothing in here? No. And so, so I really do appreciate him for everything that he has done for me and my daughter. And so I ended up working with him, and he has been excellent. He's been a great friend to me. And ooh, look at y'all. You ain't tell me I was gonna cry all on the live. No.
That's okay. That's what we're here for, to get all that extra stuff up out of there.
But
a few little kinks up in there,
Yeah, so he, for the last, goodness, how long have I been in this? Since 16, 17. He just always been in my corner, and I really appreciate. He took a chance on me with his business, because like I said, I was fresh out of college. I didn't know anything really. I just had a degree from what they gave me, so I didn't know anything. So he took a chance on me, and he brought me in, and he taught me a lot about the business, and he became a good friend and confidant that I can talk to. And he's still my friend to this day, of course. So he lets me spread my wings and tells me, like, "I know you can do this. You're capable of doing it." He's like that. So he just got my back. He don't never let me, he'll never be like, "No, I don't think you can do that." Like, he really encourages me. And I said, okay, I think we met at church, and God put you in my life for a reason. And so I've been flourishing ever since. And so I tell people, no matter where you've been, it doesn't matter, because you're going somewhere else. Because I never thought I would be here. Going and looking back through my life, did I ever think, oh, I'm gonna be this executive over here, to now doing my own talk show, to just really finding my place and knowing what God has for me. And it was sometimes I fought. I was fighting.
Wonderful thing.
I was fighting. And so the first time I actually told my story was a couple years ago. And I was, I told God, I said, okay, so I want to be on the back end. You know, I want to tell my story, but I want to be around the people that went through domestic violence. And plus I want to talk to young mothers because I was a young single mother and I know how hard it is. And I know, you know, sometimes you down here and you don't know what to do. So I said, I kind of want to be in that environment. I want to see where that could take me. And then so one night I was just like, okay, do a movie. Do a movie? Nah, I don't know about doing no movies. I don't know about no movies. But actually I brought the idea to Cedric. And he said, okay, write it. Wait a minute, that's not why I brought it to you. I brought the idea to you.
So he can take
So
over.
you can take over this great ideas, you know, this is a short film about domestic violence. So I'm like, so you can do it. Handsome, no, you do. He said, write the outline. I said, I don't even know what an outline is. That don't write in the movie. Look at that. Oh, I said, oh, this man is difficult.
Sound like somebody I know.
I said, oh my gosh, he's gonna make me do this stuff. So I did it. I wrote up a little outline. I was like, oh Lord. And he said, okay, send it off to somebody to write the script. I said, okay. So I sent it off to somebody. They wrote the script. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. It was not what I was going for. So he said, well, rewrite it. Do it how you want to do it. I said, I don't know nothing about writing a script. But I said, okay.
And you wrote it.
And I wrote it. I wrote a script. My first short, and I mean, I wrote it from page 1 all the way to the end, because I scrapped everything that person did, because it was just not me, the way it flowed. I'm like, this is, you know, black people, we don't talk like that, and I don't want this to happen over here, I want this to happen over here. So I had a vision of how I wanted it. I just didn't know how to put it out there. Oh, but Cedric made me. So that's why I say he always pushes me to do what I think I can't do. And so I wrote it, and I was very proud of myself, and he read it, and he was like, this is good. So I have that I'm doing. So along with the script, when I was at church, because I was finding singers to do the music for the soundtracks, and one of my sisters at church, ooh, she could blow. And so I wanted her to be on the soundtrack. So all this is progressing, and my daughter at the time, she was on the praise dance thing. So I was like, okay, I found this song that Cedric had did a long time ago. And I said, oh my gosh, I said, this is the perfect song. And so I went to the president of the praise dance team, and I said, well, this is what's going on with me. I wrote this movie about domestic violence because, you know, I want young girls or even women, because I was 40 when it happened to me, so I wasn't even young, to know the signs of domestic violence. And she was like, oh yeah. So I gave them the song, they put the whole dance routine together, and then she was like, okay, the Sunday came up, they was gonna do the dance. She was like, okay, now you gotta come up and introduce them. I'm like, what the heck is going on? I don't wanna be in the front. I just wanna be in the back. I just wanna just go. But no, so God put me up there, and that was the first time that I ever told my story about being in a domestic violence relationship. And just to tell people, it felt like another burden was just lifted off of me. And after church, that Sunday after church, when I say, I mean, so many women came up to me and said, I am so glad you told your story. I went through the same thing, but I just don't want to tell nobody. Then I had, you know, men come up to me and say, oh, well, can you talk to so-and-so? Because I believe they may be in the same situation. Tell them your story so maybe that can help them. I mean, I was just like, I said, oh, okay. I said, God, okay, you done put me in a whole different thing. And so basically everything just started from there. And so now I just keep progressing and progressing to the woman that God wants me to be. And the woman that I know I can be. And I look at my past, but I don't look at it in shame. I just look at it as that's what I had to go through to get here. So it was obvious that God was like, I'm gonna take you through because you have to have a testimony. You have a testimony, you have something on both sides. You was a young mother, raising kids on your own. Then you had to go through this. So now you know how to be a young mother. You can talk to young mothers. You know you've been through domestic violence. You can speak to women who are in the situation, who've gotten out of it, and maybe prevent, young women, or even like I said, older women, because like I said, I was 40 when I got in one, to know the signs of domestic violence, because it's always signs. People be like, oh, no, no, it's a sign, but we as women, we take it as like, oh, he just doing that because he liked me, he loved me, he don't want me to, hang with so-and-so because she too this and she too that. No, he's excluding people. He's making you be by yourself. Because once he gets your mind,
Isolated.
yeah, he's isolating you. Because once he gets your mind, everything else is gonna follow. So if you isolate me from my family, from my friends, when you start hitting on me, who am I gonna go to? Because they think you don't have anybody. See, but I didn't let him into my whole circle. See, that's what he didn't know. He didn't know, he only knew my kids. He didn't know my friends. He didn't know my dad. He didn't know my sister, brother, nobody out here. You just know my kids because my kids would always come, to my house because they're my kids. And, he didn't like that. He wanted me to stop my kid. I said, no. My kids is always going to be welcome in my house, and they all have a key to my house. So you can't stop my kid. So he was trying hard to isolate me from them, but that's where I drew the line. But I did stop hanging out with my friends, talking on the phone. I was going to school, and so I was online. And when you're online, you in the class with a whole bunch of people, and y'all have to do projects. And boy, I get online talk on the phone to talk to my classmates. We may have a project, and oh my gosh, every dude want to talk to me. Every dude want to screw me. Every dude, I'm like, I don't even know.
Oh, in his mind.
In his mind. Anytime I talk to a dude, that's what they wanted. I'm like, I don't even know what these people is. He had me change my phone number at least about six times. Yes.
This whole situation, okay, let me just back up again. You had your first child at 14?
No, 16.
16.
Mm-hmm.
Did you graduate from high school?
Yes, I did.
You did?
Yes.
And then you went to college?
Yes.
You got your bachelor's degree?
Yes.
And you got a master's degree?
Yes, well, I have my bachelor's in medical, and then I have my master's in music.
Okay, amen. Now, this helped me. Okay, help me.
Okay.
Domestic violence starts with anger, isolation, talking loud, calling you names. When do you say that this is a domestic violence situation and get out? Because once hit should be enough. And I'm speaking from, I was a domestic violence instructor.
Mm-hmm.
I taught, and the men who had to come, and the women too, who had assigned 52 weeks of domestic violence.
Mm-hmm.
I was a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
But domestic violence starts with anger, a calling of a name, and so you might want to talk to the audience, of the first sign. There was a sign, and how did you ignore that sign? Was it just love? You thought it was love, that you was looking for love in all the wrong places? Cause, you know, it's evident that this, like you said, a lot of the women was coming up to you. It is prevalent. Domestic violence is prevalent in our communities. And a lot of it is being hushed, but it shouldn't be hushed.
Right.
You need to scream, holler, whatever it is. So you might want to talk to the audience about that initial sign.
Initial signs are very minimal in the beginning. So it's not something like you say something, he just punch you. So what they do is they work on your mind first. And what they do is they do it very lightly. So it's like, oh, well, you know, I don't know if you should be, I've been around, you know, Susie, and I don't really like the way Susie acts. She kind of puts you in a bad light because Susie is kind of like this and you're not like that. So you shouldn't talk to Susie as much as you talk to Susie because, you know, your reputation may fade a little bit. And then you're not really, most women, we don't take that as a sign of, oh, he's trying to control me. We don't take that. We just be like, oh, okay,
Maybe he right.
maybe you're right. You know, I do see how Susie acts sometimes, and Susie do be acting like that. Then then it goes on. Oh, well, maybe you shouldn't wear that because that's looking a little, you know, too tight, or, you know, you showing too much. You shouldn't do that. So, bam, again, another sign. But we just overlook it as he's looking out for us. We don't look at it as, like I said, being controlling, you know. That's why I say they get your mind first. And it wasn't that I was in love, because for me, he was my friend at that moment. We wasn't together in a relationship. Like, he was my friend at that moment. But he already had an agenda for what he wanted.
Yeah, but he's your friend. How does he tell you anything if he's
Well,
your
I mean,
friend?
His wasn't so much of telling me like how I should dress and everything like that. His was more like, oh, you finna go out with so-and-so. Oh, me and you was gonna go out. So don't go out with her. I'm finna take you out. So he would stop me, which I didn't, like I said, at that moment, I didn't think about it until one time I kept saying, why every time I wanna go out with somebody, he tell me we gonna go out, but then we never do. So he stopped my plan. And then it was like, oh, you should do this, you know? And it kind of just built up. And then I think once he felt, okay, I got her, you know, isolated enough, I got her mind enough, now I'm gonna go to the next level. So that's why I say women should always look for those minimal signs. Because women will say, oh, he just doing that because he loved me. Oh, he just looking out for me. You know, that's my man. So, you know, he want to make sure I'm with the right people, and, you know, I don't go here and mess, you know, his name up. So it's a gradual thing. And then the actual abuse, physical.
Have you guys started a sexual relationship yet?
By that time, yes.
And how long a span did that take between him being designated as your friend, now he's your lover?
Maybe about 2 months.
2 months.
Yes. Yeah.
Sure.
So yeah, it was, and then it was oh, I'm getting evicted from my place. Can I just put my stuff in your garage? Well, my little garage. But so I was like, yeah, because it was just me and my daughter. So and my garage wasn't being used for anything. So I was like, yeah, until you find it another place, you can keep your stuff in my garage. I don't mind, you know. And then he did get evicted and he did move his stuff in the garage, but the next thing I know, he moved in too. It was like he was always there every night. So he kind of just made his way on in.
Leached this way in.
Right.
Wiggled,
leached, whatever. And so then once he got in, that's when everything started to happen. And that's when I was like, oh no. But people want to make it seem like it's so easy to leave, and it's not. It's really not. People are like, oh, I would let him do that to me. I would just leave. No, you don't know what you would do until you're in that situation. And when you are fearful, because I was really scared of him. he made me scared of him. To whereas if I leave, I don't know what he's gonna do to me. And so like they say, you have to plan your escape. I had to plan my escape. Like, I really felt like I was in a movie. Like, oh shoot, I gotta plan my escape.
They talk about weave, women escaping a violent environment,
Mm-hmm.
but it's hush. How do you find that place when it's hush? See, nobody knows where they are at. I understand, on purpose. But when a woman really needs to get out,
Mm-hmm.
where does she go?
To weave.
Yeah,
Yeah, I said
where,
it.
yeah, no, to weave, but
They
nobody
saved
knows.
my life 26 years ago.
Yeah,
I
but a
would
lot
be
of
dead
times,
right
but a
now
lot
if
of
it
times
wasn't for
people
weave.
who are in
I'd
that
have been dead.
situation at that
45
time.
to my head, yeah.
Let me just
That
finish.
kind of dead.
Wait, let me finish.
And my
young lady.
kids.
Let me finish.
And him.
A lot of times the women don't know where they are at.
Mm-hmm.
They saved me.
So where do you go for your
Leave.
safe place?
They saved me.
And that's what we need to bring to light. Where do these women go? I didn't have no place to go. I didn't even know about weed. I didn't know
They saved my
anything
life.
about any organization that helped women in those situations. So basically, for me, it was just God. Because I was like, God, I got to get out of here. I don't know where I'm going to go. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I can't stay here.
Right.
And so it wasn't like I had like the organization Weave and all that where people can go to. So for me, I just had to get out. But that's why I want to talk to women about it. Like, there needs to be more communication about it. Because women do need to know that there is some place or places, not just one.
Right.
Because if you only have one and you have all these demands, you can't take care of everybody. And you don't want one to fall through the cracks. So there has to be different organizations to help women in that situation, because most women feel like there is nowhere for them to go. And the main reason why they feel like that is because they don't want to get judged. Because I didn't want to get judged. I didn't want nobody to talk about me. I didn't want to get judged as the girl who let this fool beat on her, and everybody forms their different opinions. So you keep it hush because you don't want what comes along with it.
Right.
And most women, the shame. And most women, that's how they feel, shameful. Oh, I let him do this to me, so I'm gonna just get out of it. And like I said, I used to be like, I'm not gonna ever talk about that. Yeah, I used to be like, screw him, I'm gone, I'm done with him, I'm done with that situation, I'm gonna move on with my life. But when I thought that, it was still a part of me that hadn't healed from that. So, and until I got that healed, I didn't really have peace. I had moved on, but I didn't have peace. I didn't have closure. I didn't have anything. It was just a situation to where I felt I was over it and I moved on. Like they say, you just go on with life like nothing ever happened. But yeah, so speaking on domestic violence is something that I am very, very eager to do. And
how long were you in that situation once he started to, since he moved in? When he moved in,
a year.
You stayed there a whole year.
A year. I stayed there a
And
whole
where
year.
did you go? You said you moved to your sister, your daughter's house?
Oh, that was the last straw. I moved to my daughter's house.
But when did you leave? And what?
When I left, me and my daughter went to a hotel.
Okay, all right, there you go.
And then he found us at that hotel.
Okay.
Then we went to another, I went to like 3 hotels. We was living in hotels for months.
All in Sacramento?
Yeah, all in Sacramento. And then, like I said, the last one that he found me at, when they arrested him, I said, this is where I gotta go now. So I'm not going to another hotel, I'm gonna go to my daughter's house. Because now I have people around me, and this is not my house. You just can't come up in here. This is not my house. So that was a way for me to escape too, because I went to her house. So I knew he couldn't come over there because she didn't like him. So I definitely knew he wasn't gonna come over there. But the tricky thing about it, he did know where I was because his cousin lived downstairs. And his cousin said, oh, your girlfriend upstairs. I see her upstairs at my neighbor's house.
Oh, boy.
But at that point in my life, I was at the point where I knew I wasn't going back. I knew I wasn't in that terrified place anymore. I was able to stand up for myself.
your kids, did they know at what point, how did they find it? Did you tell your kids what was going on?
No.
So it was after you left them that you finally said something? Or did you say something then?
I really didn't say anything then, because I have one son, and I know my son, and I didn't want him involved in anything.
Going to prison.
Right.
Mhm.
You hitting on
For
mama.
me.
Hitting on my mama.
Right, and that's how he is. He's protective of me and his 3 sisters. So I already knew that, so I didn't tell him. He knew at one point that I just wanted to move because I was just tired of him being there. And then he was like, but he never knew to the extent. And because he was like, Mom, you don't gotta move. If you want me to get him out your house, I can get him out your house.
That part.
Okay. And I said, no. But yeah, so I didn't really started talking to them about it until kind of just recently.
My kids
Yeah.
knew,
Did
And
you
they
feel
were
sorry
scared.
for him or something?
and he was starting to abuse
Huh?
them too.
I'm sorry. Did you feel sorry for him or something? Because a lot of times we be feeling sorry for them and we
Yeah.
might still hang in there and, and then we reminisce on the good times that we did have with him and we kind of hold on to, well, he was pretty good and he really wasn't like that. And I'm just speaking about domestic violence
Right.
itself, not you. Because
Right.
domestic violence works both ways
Right.
for women and for men, right?
Yeah, and
And
really that's
there's
what,
still no outlets for both parties.
We-
Right.
Because a
we
lot
will
of
help
men get
him.
abused and they don't have outlets to talk about it
Uh-huh.
as well as women. So I'm hearing about this weed program,
They will help men
which would
too.
help men as
Mhm.
well. So I think it works 2 ways.
yes,
You can go there
it's,
without a penny in your pocket and no clothes. They will take care of you.
Yeah, and I think
They will
that's good
protect you.
information. Right?
Mhm.
It's amazing.
yeah, I found out about weed later on.
And they
after I-
have
but I never felt like
counseling.
sorry.
Very good.
I never felt like sorry for him.
Okay.
I guess a couple times I did because I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, because we be holding on.
Yeah, we be.
But
It was just a
he ain't
little.
really, I feel sorry for him.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
we be
So
holding
I
on
can
to
say that.
And
So
he really ain't
sometimes,
like that. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
until I really realized that he was like that. But that's what women do. We will
Yeah, I
make
get
up
it. I get it.
excuses, and that's what
Right.
we have to stop. And that's what we have to stop doing.
Yeah.
Wow,
So-
this conversation is really getting hot. I am so sorry, you guys. I really do apologize, but we're running out. We done ran out of time.
Oh, did
The
I talk
conversation
that
got good. Like when person is sharing, they give me to share their story. Something happens. They
Right.
open up and they think they're not gonna talk for a few minutes. But once you get the feeling and the vibe that's in this room, the setting that's in this room, it frees you where you just start talking. Oh, it be on and cracking. So I wanna, everybody, let's thank Miss Kim Bush for coming out for sharing her story.
Guys, for having me. Thank you. Thank you, Sarah, for having me. I really appreciate it.
If you'd like to share your story, give me, contact me, myself, Terry Meyer, at 916-706-4590. Once again, that number is 916-706-4590. Next week, we're gonna have a trio up here. Stay tuned.